Assalamualaikum Zoya, how are you?
Walaikum Assalam, I'm fine.
That is good, Zoya. So last time around we were done with the limits of accuracies, right? Today we're going to continue on with what you may call um, the. Today I'm going to begin ratio and proportion with you. Okay. So let's begin with that. Uh, Hi, is this Kushi in class?
Yes, sir.
How are you, Kushi?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I think I heard from your father a few days ago that you weren't well, Kushi. So,
Yes.
are you feeling better now?
Yeah, I'm feeling much better.
That's good. That's good. All right, Kushi. So, I think you're sitting in for a demo class. Today, we're going to start a new topic. We've covered a few topics beforehand. We've covered, we're trying to go through with the syllabus. And today, I'm thinking of covering ratio and proportion. All right, Kushi.
Okay,
So if there's anything during the class that you do not understand or is there anything that you do not get, let me know. Okay?
okay, sir.
All right.
And sir,
So,
towards like the end of class, could I ask you a few questions I had
yeah, yeah,
regarding
sure.
classes?
Yeah, yeah, sure. No issues at all. No issue.
Thank
Stay back, okay?
you. Okay.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Ishal. How are you?
Walaikum Assalam, sir. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So in our previous classes, we had done, your all of the questions regarding limits of accuracy. We have done standard form. We have done um, surds and indices, and we started off with just simple numbers and stuff. So continuing on with that, I'm now going to continue with ratio and proportion, and that will, somewhat, and we'll try to wrap up the first sort of like the chapter, which is of numbers. So when I say or when I discuss ratios and proportions, that's the entire chapter. We're going to do them one by one. Now, when I say the word proportions, when I say the word ratios, what comes to your mind? Yes, Zoya.
Comparing two
Can you hear me,
different,
Zoya?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it,
Comparing two different what?
it's like comparing two different scales or something.
Yeah, you can say that. Yes, you're right, Zoya. You can say that. What do you think, Kushi? When I say the word ratio, what pops up? What rings a bell?
It's like when we're trying to compare two quantities to numbers.
Well done. Yeah, that is exactly what it is. And what about you, Shal? What do you think? Ishal, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ishal. What do you think are ratios? Hmm? So whenever I am trying to, write down, just a moment, the screen stopped sharing. So whenever I'm trying to, express what ratios are, I will simply say that, if there are ratios, they're simply going to be what you may call, um, you guys are both right, they're comparison of two or more quantities. So we can simply say that these are the comparison between two or more quantities, two or more quantities, and keep that in mind that the quantities need to be of the same nature. Now, for example, why do I stress upon this? Because a comparison cannot be made for two things that aren't of the same nature. I would not compare a bird to, let's say, a cat, because obviously they're incomparable. There's completely different species. Same is the case over here. Comparison between, whenever you're trying to compare things, obviously the two things need to have some sort of relationship between them. So whenever you're trying to look into ratios, it's the comparison between two or more quantities. Quantities. Just give me a moment, guys. Apologies about that. So, whenever we're trying to look into ratios, it's the comparison between two or more quantities of the same nature. And we can say that these quantities are expressed as a fraction of one another. So, comparison between two or more quantities expressed as a fraction. So you're trying to compare the relationship between two quantities and you're trying to express them as a fraction. So what we mean by this is that, let's just say that, for example, if there's any sort of share between the two quantities, if a quantity is being shared, we want to know what sort of share one is going to receive. So we need to compare the two quantities together, and we are going to do that using the ratios. So, for example, if I were to put in an example, I can simply say that, let's say an example is that, x and y, if they are expressed as a ratio, are in a ratio of 2:3. Now, if x and y are in a ratio of 2:3, I can simply, express them as x over y as well. So ratios can be expressed as fractions of each other as well. They are going to be mainly expressed as fractions. Now, what do we mean by this is that whatever quantity x and y these shareholders are, having in between them, obviously it has to be the same quantity in order for it to be compared. And if x and y are in a ratio of 2:3, what's going to happen is that whatever quantity it is, you're trying to compare how much x will receive and how much y will receive. All right. Considering this, we now get to this point as to how you're supposed to utilize ratios. So the first usage of, ratio is finding share. Finding share of whatever quantities are being shared. So whenever these are the types of questions, ratio questions that you guys can receive. So whenever we're trying to find the share between these quantities, then, we are going to utilize this formula which states that the share of the ratio, whatever ratio it is, share of ratio is equal to the ratio itself over the sum of ratios. Sum of ratios. All right. Times the total amount being shared. Total amount being shared or being compared, whatever it is. So total amount being shared. Any issues with this, guys? Anything that you guys don't get? Let me know. So this is a very straightforward, very simple formula that, whenever you want to find the share of anything, and the ratios are given, and you want to find the actual monetary value of the shares, monetary as in, whatever quantity that is being shared, you will utilize this formula. This is going to be extremely important. It's going to, be used throughout the time that we'll study ratios, and even after we're done studying ratios. So this is going to be something that carry forwards. All right. Hopefully this is clear. Any issues with this, kindly let me know. So now what we're going to do is see this through. Let's look at an example. Wait, I'll copy down an example. I had it written. It'll save us time. So copy down an example. So for example, if a certain ratio is given to you, a certain ratio is given to us. How? Let's see. So for example, there is, three parties. Let's just say that X, Y, and Z start a particular business, and they share their profits in a ratio of 3:4:7 respectively. Also, even if it's not written respectively, yes, sir,
Sir, please show the definition of ratio again. I have to note it.
this one. All right. So, for example, what's going to happen is that X, Y, and Z start a business and they share their profits in a given ratio. Now, what I was saying was that, whenever, even if it doesn't say respectively, ratios are always written in an order. So, over here it said 2:3. And it was common knowledge that the first ratio was X and the second ratio was of Y. So, do not confuse which ratio belongs to which. Clear? Keeping this in mind, now we already know that there was a business being carried out by this firm or whatever, and they earned almost like $2 million. You need to find what is the share of X. Just give me a moment, guys. Okay, try and solve this question. First, I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Solve this question using the given formula. I'll be back to check your answers. Just a moment. Apologies about that, guys. I'm here. Okay, now let's see. So the question I gave you guys was that, if you're trying to find out the a single ratio or a single share from a given ratio and sum of ratios, is that you're going to utilize this formula. So if I want to find x's share, let's just say that I want to find x's share. Now it is going to be what you may call ratio over sum of ratio. So the x's ratio is going to be 3 over sum of ratio is going to be whatever the sum of the ratios are, which is 3 plus 4 plus 7, and you multiply it with the amount that you're trying to see the relationship in, or compare it in. So 2 million. Now if I solve this further, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 3 over 14 times 2. And can someone tell me the answer in decimal?
0.428.
0.428. So I can simply say that 0.428 million X receives. All right. Thank you, Ranim. Hopefully everyone else is also getting the same answer. It's a very easy concept. It's not something that's hard at all. Keeping this in mind, now what we're going to do is that if we find out what is the share for, let's say, y. Now, if I'm trying to find out y's share, I'm going to utilize the same ideology that I did for x. So if we're trying to find out the share of y, it is simply going to be y's share, which is equal to 4 over 3 plus 4 plus 7, which is 14, I guess, yeah, times 2. And can anyone be so kind enough to tell me what was the share of y that we're receiving? Kindly calculate this.
0.571.
All right. So 0.571 million. Thank you, Ranim. That is excellent. And last but not the least, if I want to calculate Z's share. Now, there are two ways of going about to calculate Z's share. Again, I stress upon this a lot with students your age because of the fact that showing a lot of working is perfectly all right. You should do that. But you should also look at the marks of the question and what the examiner wants from you. If a question can be solved in 3 steps and it's going to give you 3 marks because the examiner has told you to, solve it in 3 steps, what you're simply going to do is that what you may call you should opt for it. But if the same question you're getting, you're solving it in 5 steps, and the same question that would have been solved in 3 steps, but the maximum number of marks you're going to get are the same. It's not like some sort of an essay or something where you might get more marks if you write more or if you showcase your strengths more. No, that's not the case. So I always tell my students to be more what you may call um, to be more smarter. You should work harder, but it's much more better to work smarter rather than working harder. So always look at the marks of the question as well in order to judge how much you're getting. Because if you're doing like 10 steps for a 3 mark question, that is not going to be helpful. You're losing a lot of time. Your efficiency is going to go down. Clear? Moving forward with this, now if I want to find Z's share, I can simply do it the way that I've been doing it with X and with Y. All right, simply, putting in 7 as its ratio over the sum of ratio times 2, that is perfectly all right. I can do it. But what would be more sensible to do in my eyes is that there are only 3 parties which are sharing the profit. And I already know the profit of the first 2 parties. So in order to find Z's profit, can I not simply just add the other 2 parties' profits and subtract them from the total profit? I think that could work as well. Maybe it could save me time as well. This question is very simple, but maybe there may be a question where there are larger numbers involved or something of that sort happens. In these type of questions where there's a lot of complex calculations, you can make stuff easier for yourself by simply identifying or a bit of common sense usage. Keeping this in mind, what's going to happen is that your Z's share is going to be for what you may call Z's share. That is going to be where is it? Oh, sorry. This is it. Oh, okay. So in order to find Z's share, can I not simply subtract from 2 the sum of those two shares? So I can simply, add up X and Y and then subtract them from 2, which is the total. This is going to give me what? It should give me 2 minus the share of X was, I think, 0.482 or something, 428, sorry, plus 0.571. Calculate this. I think it should give us 1 million. Almost. Rounding it off. Yes, are we getting the same answer, guys?
Yes.
All right. And if you want to do it the other way around as well, be my guest, there is no restriction on it. You can use the same formula, 7 over 14, blah, 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 whatever it is. But there's a way of doing it which is much more easier. So if that is the case, you can also be more sensible and, get the same number of marks for doing lesser number of steps. So I think that would be much more convenient. Keeping this in mind, let's move on. So every question which involves finding of a certain share, you're going to do it with this formula. Now, there is one rare occurrence, although it's not that rare, but it may be so because we've not seen it in the past papers of recent years. That is going to be 3 ratios. What if 3 ratios are given to you and not in the way that the above question was given? So you guys can put up a very strong argument that the above question over here was also given 3 ratios. But these ones are where you're given at least, a few ratios are given and you have to find the third ratio in comparison to these. So what's going to happen is I always try to do this question with an example. There's this one example that I almost always end up using. So X ratio Y is equal to 2 ratio 3. And separately, Y ratio Z is equal to 4 ratio 5. Now the question states find X, Y ratio Z all together. Now you're given two pairs, but they do not have a direct link in between them. You need to find that and complete the ratio. How you're going to do that? Let's see. So for example, what's going to happen is that let's write down the ratios now. So it's going to be X ratio Y ratio Z. All right. Oh, wait. X ratio Y ratio Z. And a few ratios are given to you. So X ratio Y without any link to Z is 2 ratio 3. Whereas Y ratio Z without any link to X is 4 ratio 5. So I can write it like this. Different ratios. And at the same time, I do not know these ratios, so I need to complete them, these guys. So I can simply use them as A or B. All right. I just need a variable. So in order to complete the ratio, in order to find X, Y, Z, I need to either find the value of A or find the value of B. It's just as simple as that. Keeping this in mind, what's going to happen is that you're either going to find A or B. All right. Now we're going to do them with both. You need to do just one. That's hence it says or. One of them will be enough. You just need to show one lane and both will give the same answer. So it's not an issue. Let's find using A. So for example, if I use start by finding using A, I need to first write down my ratios, which are Y ratio Z and 3 ratio A and 4 ratio 5. All right. Knowing this, when we're done with this, what we're going to simply do is that we're going to cross multiply now, as we do with all ratios, that we're going to cross multiply. Once we cross multiply, you're going to get what? You're going to get 4A is equal to 15. 4A is equal to 15, which can be further simplified to A is equal to 15 over 4. Okay. Now, if I put this down as what you may call, I need to write, if I'm only using A to get my answer, how will I do so? I will write down my ratios again, which are X, Y, Z. I'm simply going to put down their ratios again, like this. But now I know the value of A. So I can simply write my ratios down as 2 ratio 3 ratio 15 over 4. But again, in the beginning, I said that ratios themselves are expressed as fraction. So you cannot have a fraction in a fraction because I told you that ratios are expressed as fractions themselves. So obviously 15 over 4 does not look very nice butting in over here. You need to simplify it. Ratios are always written in their simplest whole number form, not even decimal or anything. Now, in order to make this a bit easier, what is going to happen is that simply I can say, I need to make sure I need to make this into a whole number such that, obviously, in order to make this into a whole number, I'm going to have to multiply or, do some sort of function to it. But because these three ratios are in a relationship with one another, they're a comparison between each other. You cannot singularly increase one or, do something of that sort without affecting the other two. It's kind of like the same thing. You multiply on the right hand side of the equation, you have to multiply on the left hand side of the equation as well. Balance of the equation does not need to be disturbed. So, in order to make this into the nearest whole number, and you need to make sure that, even though you're making it into the nearest whole number, you need to make sure that the ratio is still in its simplest form. It's not as if, someone asked me the other day that 15 over 4 is actually equal to, I think, 3.75. And it is a very good possibility that, you multiply this with 100 and it becomes 375. That is perfectly all right. But if you're multiplying only this with 100, then that means you're going to have to multiply 2 and 3 with 100 as well. And that is going to make your ratio 200, ratio 300, ratio 375. Again, you're going to have to simplify this. You're going to have to simplify this till the very end, kind of like, until and unless all of them are not divisible by one another. So their simplest form. So instead of saving that hassle, why don't you multiply with a number that a very smaller number, if I multiply over here, like let's just say, for example, I multiply with 4. Now, what is going to happen? If I multiply with 4, this 4 and this 4 will cancel out. And then you're going to be left behind with what you may call 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 3, 3 times 4 is 12, and then you'll be left with 15. And that will be your answer because now you guys can clearly see that none of my ratios are divisible by any number. All right. My ratios aren't divisible by any number. Any issues with this? Is this clear, guys? Yes, someone raised their hand or something. Okay.
Clear.
Yeah, that is good. And good, some apologies, but I did not see you there. Has someone new joined in class? Hello, can you introduce yourself, please? Could you tell us your name, please? So that I know who joined in and they've left the call. All right, they join in again. We'll get back to them. Okay, so 8 ratio, 12 ratio, 15 is going to be your final answer of X, Y, and Z. Now, what if I did not do it like this? I did it with B. I did it with B as in what you may call, now I'm going to do it with B. X and Y. 2 ratio 3 ratio B ratio, what you may call 4. Again, the same method is going to be used. You're going to simply multiply these together, cross multiply, apologies. And you're going to try and find the answer, which is going to be 3B is equal to 8. And B is simply can be written as 8 over 3. Now, keeping this in mind, how am I going to do it? Simply, I can keep this over here and write down all the ratios together again. So it's going to be X ratio Y ratio Z. Now you have to write down the row with B. So it's going to be B ratio 4 ratio 5. But now I know the value of B as well. The value of B is 8 over 3. So this is going to be like this. And you have 4 and you have 5. Now, again, we're at the same instance where you're supposed to multiply with such a number so that the ratio goes away. Sorry, the decimal and the fraction goes away. So this time around, I can simply say that, oops, I can simply say that what you may call, I can multiply with 3. Why? Because these 3 will cancel out and you'll be left with 8. But let's see if my final answer is not affected by it. So it is going to be 8 ratio 4 times 3 is 12 times 5 times 3 is 15. So again, you guys can clearly see that I'm getting the same answer. And the reason for that is regardless of whether you solve for A or B, you're supposed to get the same answer whenever you're trying to solve for whenever you're trying to solve for 3 ratios, given that one ratio was concealed from you. Clear? Now, few things that we know from this. Someone's got their hand up. Yes, Kushi?
Sir, will this always apply? Like, is there any situation where we could get different values?
Different values. Obviously, you're going to get, this is just an example that I made up by myself.
Yes, sir. I mean, like, when we have to find out the variable, like suppose in another question, we also take the variables A and B. So would we get the same values, like A equals to B in every scenario of
Okay.
ratios?
A and B should not have the same values without being simplified. After simplification, your final answer should be 1, regardless of whether you're doing it through B or regardless of whether you're doing it with A. A and B are getting different values. You can clearly see, Kushi, that
Yes.
A is giving me 15 over 4, B is giving me 8 over 3. But I simplified them differently as well. When I did it with A, I had to multiply the entire thing with 4. When I did it with B, I had to multiply the entire thing with 3. So after simplification, simplification for both is going to be different. Your final answer should
Yes.
always match. Clear?
Okay, sir.
All right. And what we know from this is that ratios need to always be expressed in their simplest forms, or we can say that ratios are always expressed what you may call in their simplest. And by simplest, I mean that the ratios should not, it's not as if all the three ratios may be divisible to each other. No, they're always in their simplest form. They cannot be further divided, or any sort of application cannot be done on them. Ratios are always expressed in their simplest form. And what's that going to do is that you're simply going to be, ratios are always expressed in their simplest form. Sorry, whole number form. Decimals and fractions are also not acceptable when we're dealing with ratios. Because if decimal and fractions were acceptable, my answers like these should have been correct as well. Because fractions or decimals were there. So yes. Is there anyone who has any questions? No. Anyone who does
Yeah.
not understand that? What? Sorry. Yes, Zoya. Sorry, I did not see your hand up. Hmm?
Yeah, so if they ask us state the value of A and B or B, whatever, so do I write 8 over 3, for example, or do I write 8?
Okay,
Or
so yeah, that is a very rare occurrence that they ask you to state the value of A and B. They probably won't. The question, okay, this is the question. This is the question statement that the examiner will give as well. It'll be pretty vague. But for example, could you repeat your question? If they ask to write down the value of A and B, what will you do? What was your question? Sorry.
so, for example, if they ask us to state the value of B, do I write it as 8 over 3 or do I write it as 8?
Okay, yes, that's a very good question. All right, now it depends. These values are a part of your working. Now, if he's asking you over here, state the value, like the final value. If he's saying that, okay, I understand how Zoya's question is formed. Zoya is saying that, for example, the question says that B ratio A ratios, or, A ratio B ratio C. Now, if the examiner says to write it down in this form and state the final answer or state the final values of A and B, then you will write these values, the final ones. These are a part of your working and we do not accept them as ratios. Why do we not accept them as ratios? Because ratios are supposed to be in their simplest whole number form. These are not in their simplest whole number forms. Is this clear? That is why we're going to, whenever you're referenced, usually that isn't the case, but it could be. Zoya is absolutely right. Very well. And the question is really well asked that, you need to write down the final values. Is this clear, guys? Any issues with this? Anything that anyone does not understand? Zoya, any issues with this?
No, sir.
All right. And our mystery person has joined in again. Yes, could you please introduce yourself? Hello, can you hear me? I believe they're a bit shy. Well, whoever is joining in for your demo class, could you kindly stay back at the end of the class so that I can talk to you? Assalamu alaikum. Yes, someone's in the chat. Sorry. Assalamu alaikum. Could you just tell us your name, please? Is it the username? Usually people don't use the username name. But could you just let me know your name, please, so that I know who am I addressing? Okay. Guys, if that person tells us their name, could you kindly relay it to us? Meanwhile, let's look at a question. Let's look at a past paper question now to satiate you people. Hmm. Hmm. We've done this question before. If I give it to you guys again, you'll be able to do it. This one's also done. This one isn't. Yes, I can give it to you. Hmm. Joe and Mo. Okay, this is a good question. Let's see how you guys fare up against it. Wait, I'll copy it down on your end as well. Is there anyone who still does not get ratios? Please let me know. All right, this is a sharing question, and it's one of the from one of the few past papers that we have done before. But I don't think you guys would have managed to do it. Yes, guys, can you solve this question for me? It's an easy question. It's not that hard. A bit of algebraic manipulation is required, but let's see who can do it. Whoever's done first, just let me know. Okay, so that we can do forward. We'll check your answers. Yes, who was saying Assalamu alaikum to me in the chat? Your name is Raha. Hi Raha, how are you? Raha, your mic is not working, I'm afraid. Hmm? And oh, just a moment, guys. The question is of 3 marks. I told you to judge your working according to the marks. So 3 mark question. All right. Yes, Raha. Trust me. I am. It makes me the most saddest. Yes. All right, Raha. So Raha, I'm afraid you're also sitting in for the demo class. You joined in a bit late. What you can do, Raha, is that I want you to try and solve this question. At the end of the class, we also have Kushi with us. She's joining in for a demo class as well. I'll talk to you guys. Okay, at the end of the class, I'll explain everything if you guys have any questions. All right. Yes, Basit, is this clear? By the way, Assalamu alaikum, Basit, Fahad, and Hamdan, Rani, Imtad. You guys joined in a bit late. Let me know when you guys are done.
Done, sir.
Yes, Fahad, what's the answer?
Sir, 31 ratio 21.
Oh, great answer. Guys, Fahad is telling us that the answer is 31 ratio 21. Who agrees with him? Raise your hand if you guys agree with him. Kushi and Hamdan agree with him. Saad agrees with him. Only these guys. Fahad does not have a lot of friends, I'm afraid. Yes, only three people. So Kushi teams up with Fahad, Hamdan does, and who else was there? Saad? Yeah, Saad also. What about the rest? Basit, are you, if you're not agreeing with Fahad, that could mean two things. Either you have beef with him or you are getting a different answer. What could it be, Basit?
Sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, Basit has beef with it. All right. What about you, Ishad? Ishad, I'm afraid go back to Ishad. Okay, Raneem. Yes, Raneem. Yeah, I did not receive an answer from you.
Sir, I'm still doing it.
And Zoya, are you there?
Yes,
What's the answer, Zoya?
I don't know how to solve it.
No worries, Zoya, we'll do it. Yes, Raha, would you mind typing your answer as well, if you can? All right. So, Fahad, guide me through it. How did you do it?
Sir, first I took Moo's money as X, and then because Joe receives $5 more, so Joe will be X plus 5, and then we can make an equation.
Fahad, slow down. I'm not that fast. Okay, so Mo's money is X. Why is that? Because Joe's money is being compared with Mo. Weird name. So Joe's money is going to be X plus 5, right? All right. Yes, Fahad. Next up. What should I do?
So then we can make an equation which will be X plus 5 is equals to 26.
Repeat that again.
So we'll make an equation which is X plus brackets X plus 5 bracket close is equals to 26.
X plus 5 is equal to 26. Okay. Yes. Then, Fahad, what should we do? Add them up. So this is going to become 2x plus 5 is equal to 26. 2x is going to be equal to 26 minus 5, which is going to be equal to x is equal to 21 over 2. Right, Fahad? I think I'm doing it correctly. Yeah, I think I am. And this is going to be what, 10.5? All right. Now what's going to happen is that 10.5 is going to be your answer for the amount of money Mo is receiving. So this is Mo's money, which is $10.5. How much would Joe receive? Joe would obviously receive 5 more than that. So it's going to be $15.5 for Joe. Now what's going to happen is that he's asking, give your answer, find the ratio first of all, and also give your answer in simplest form. So in order to find the ratio, what should I do? I'll simply put these two together. I'm going to put Joe ratio Mo, which is going to be, Joe is going to be 15.5 and Mo is going to be 10.5. Now that should be their ratio, right? Because whatever money Joe is receiving, we've seen a comparison of it with Mo. But this cannot be the ratio. Why? Because you have decimals. Remove the decimal, guys, because it's 0.5. I think I'll just multiply it with 2. So if I multiply it with 2, what should be my final answer? It should be 31 ratio 21. Is this clear? Yes, Rani.
Sir, why are we multiplying it by 2?
Rani, how will I remove the decimal?
Oh, and then
All right. I need to remove the decimal, Rani. You can multiply it with 10. It will give you 155 ratio 105. Then you will again simplify it again and again. So it isn't it easier to just multiply it with the least common multiple or the least common factor in order to get some sort of an answer? Because this cannot be further simplified. All right, Rani. Any issues with this, Rani? Anything that you don't get?
no, sir.
All right. Anyone who does not understand this, let me know. Yes, Hamdan, did you get this now? Hamdan
Yes.
and Basit and Zoya.
Yes, sir.
Zoya, is this clear?
Yes.
Any issues with this, Zoya?
No.
All right. So well done, Kushi, Hamdan, and Fahad and Saad. You guys got the correct answer. All right. So we're going to leave it till here for today. In our next class, which is tomorrow at the same time, we're going to continue on with a few more of ratios and proportions, and we'll try to finish it off this week. Until then, keep smiling. Raha and Kushi, you guys can stay back and I'll talk to you. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Everyone else, buzz off. Allah Hafiz. Bye.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
Allah Hafiz. Bye bye. Bye bye. Yes. Kushi, how are you?
I'm doing good, sir.
That is good. Yes, Kushi, you wanted to ask me something.
Yes, sir. I had a few questions. My first question was like, when did this batch start?
Well, it says over here that I started on the first, but that is a lie. I did not start on the first. On the 1st of January, we were all enjoying. Me and my class were hanging out and enjoying the new year. Wait, let me check where did it start. It was the week after the first, so I think I started on the 6th, I guess.
Okay, sir. And like I was planning to give the October-November series, so I was wondering if this batch is for the October-November series or like.
This is for May.
So then, like I was planning to give October-November. So then, is there like a new batch which will start for the October-November series?
Yes. So what happens is, Kushi, that we begin. This is the crash course one. So this is for students who want to appear in May, June. Now, most of the students in my class right now
Yes,
are
sir.
my older students. They have been continuing with me from last year. And what happens is, so it's kind of like if I give you a rough idea of the timeline, is that from June onwards we begin. I think it's June onwards. I forgot the date, but from June onwards, we begin a crash course for the October-November students as well. All right. So that happens as well. In this session, what's going to happen is till the 15th of March, we're going to try and finish our syllabus. And after the 15th of March, till the exams of the students, which happen around late April, starts in May usually, we're going to do past papers. So this is especially designed for the students who do their exams. But it's, you can say that it's a crash course, right? So we're going to cover all the content and we're also
Yes,
going to
sir.
cover all the past papers. That is why I try to, you guys probably would have seen that, I try to give them questions in the middle as well. These are
Yes,
all
sir.
the questions, the past paper questions. Why? Because then it doesn't pile up a lot. Because if I teach all the time and I do not give you guys questions,
Yes.
by the time I move to the last chapter, you guys are going to forget. And that is perfectly all right as well. That's in human nature. So that is why we sort of, emphasize. I do it that, doing the questions side by side And then obviously the yearly past paper comes into play as well. Yes, question.
Okay, sir. So, if I want to appear for October, November, then I should join a batch that starts in June, right?
Your call. Perfectly, it's your call. So, for example, if you join with us right
Yes.
now, but it's not going to be. I don't think it's kind of like it's just going to give you a head start. That is what I think. Because you'll by the time we begin the June session,
Yes, sir.
then again it's like the same timeline. So June, July, August, September, 3-4 months. Over here also 3-4 months. It's your call what you want to do. If you begin from now on, it's just kind of a head start because you'd have already done the syllabus once. Right, Kushi?
Okay. So that would give me more time for practice.
Yeah,
Okay, got
because
it.
you have done the syllabus like twice, and obviously, when I do the past paper session, which happens in April, March, and
Yes.
April, then you'll have access to that as well. So that usually and by the way, in the October November session, the one that
Yes, sir.
starts in June, we don't really have a past paper session. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So all the past papers are separately done. All the past papers will be done in class. And also, just by the way, in my classes, there are 3 regular classes per week, but there is one test class
Yes.
that is held. And the test class is held by a colleague of mine. She's another teacher. She's going to be sitting in for the test class. So she's just going to conduct your test, be an invigilator. I, however, will be
Is
the
it
one that will be providing her with the tests. Yes, Kushi.
is it the one that takes place Friday? That Friday link?
I am not sure, but I think you're right. Yes, I think you're right. I
Okay.
think it's on Fridays. And also
And
the
then
worksheet that. Mhm.
I have one more question. So, suppose I'm absent for a class. So, how can we catch up? Like, I see that it's being recorded. So, is there any place where we can access the recordings, or how can we
Yep.
catch up?
Yep. Okay. So what happens is, like, for example, if you miss a class, for example, if it's on the student's end, then
Yes.
obviously I won't be able to reschedule an entire class because of the student.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So then all the classes are being recorded. This one as well is being recorded, even though our conversation is also being recorded. So, and
Yes.
we have a Google Classroom. So, Kushi, we have a Google
Okay.
Classroom. I'll add you onto over there. And what happens is, I am rushing through the class. We try to get in as much content as we can. So, what happens is that even if you're not able to write down the notes in class, what you can do
Yes.
is that I always try to give time to students to write down at the end of the class, or you can take screenshots. Also, all the notes will be posted after each and every chapter on Google Classroom. All the assignments that I'm talking about, again on Google Classroom. Class recordings are also on Google Classroom. Clear?
Okay,
And
sir.
also the announcements for the class will be on also on Google Classroom. Because of the fact that there's a number of students, I cannot text each and every one of them if there's, let's just say there's a
Yes.
delay, there's, maybe I am not available. And if I am not available to take a class, then makeup classes are also held. All right.
Okay, sir.
Could be that there could be an emergency, I'm not there. So obviously I'll try to take a makeup class. Usually that happens on Fridays because I'm usually free on Fridays. All right.
Okay, sir.
So missing the
Okay, sir.
class is not an issue. We have, trust me, the most of the students I have, they are very, very improper when it comes to attendance. All right.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, sir.
Yes. And what I was I saying? Okay. Also, yeah, the test class that I was telling you about, even though the
Yes, sir.
tests are conducted by the other teacher, the tests are still given by me. So the test is going to be given by me. She's just going to be there for you guys. And I will also
Okay,
check the test and then we'll do them in class as well. Okay, I'll mark
okay,
you as
sir.
well. So that depends on me. I have to take a minimum of 2 tests, but that is up to me. I can take more, probably not less. 2 is a bare minimum. So probably more. Because it's math,
Okay,
I tend to try to
sir.
do as much practice as we can. Yeah. And Raha, do you
Okay,
have
sir.
any questions as well? Raha, can you hear us? I don't think Raha can hear us at all. Yes, Kushi, any other question from your end?
No, sir, that's it.
Any other question that you may have, Kushi, you can always find me on WhatsApp as well. Also, I'm always available on WhatsApp as well. My email is also available. If you text me on WhatsApp regarding any question of any sort, I will get back to you sooner or later. But the class announcements will always be on Google Classroom. Okay, because it's much more convenient for me. I can just announce it on the classroom and everyone will receive it rather than going to each and every single chat and WhatsApping. Clear?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
No issues at all. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Keep smiling. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye.
Bye.